Today's the video you've been waiting for, Godforge Quests tier list, so you know exactly what hero that I am going to be locking in, just like you guys could be locking in for your launch rewards. Meaning if you play in early access or anytime you basically want to play when Godforge goes live, you will start with, as many people will show, your weapon here, your imprint, your portrait of choice, as well as the hero that you've locked in. And if you want to participate in this, you can still do it. It's only 20 days of consecutive logins, and this does last all the way to the February 20th, so why not get involved? Just get some free heroes to start off your journey. And obviously today's video is that one where we're going to go through all of the heroes like we did before, but better and a little bit more faster for a tier list video. And that means we will go alphabetically ordered from Anu all the way to Mr. Wang. So if you are looking for a certain hero, you should be able to technically skip through, but I will be adding the major one some timestamps for you because I know you're going to be looking for certain heroes within the tier list. So smash like, comment and subscribe, and if you want to join a really cool pantheon, check out my Discord link down in the description to join Camp Half-Blood, where me and the adventures of Adam and many other content creators are lurking and playing and all gaming. So why not join the cool kids squad, right? Let's be real. So the way we're doing this is a really cool way. I will be honest, my main website, as you guys know, Raven Pyros, oh my lord, he just did another big poggers to the Godforge community. He has made this massive tier list on the website, and you can just go to his website, ravenpyrosgaming.com, check it down in the technically website links down below. But what's really cool about this tier list is anything I put in here, right, you guys can see it because it's an actual public tier list. So if you want to check out other people's tier lists, you can, and you can actually get a lot of different information, and you might see common themes where people are going to have certain heroes at the same level, which I actually think is quite sick. The way this is done at the moment, we've got S tier, A tier, B tier, C tier, and D tier, and just to make this a bit more easier, I'm putting this as S tier, my top picks, so you guys know, right? So this is just so you know these are my number one picks in different categories, because I do think, compared to a lot of people that are doing tier lists, that yes, you can go in an invoker, yes, you can go down a defender route, and it's going to be super safe, super easy to get. However, from playing alpha, to be honest, there is a lot of good support and technically tanks through rare and even epic category with ways to join attack, like Shishi for an example, that should be working now, that will make like your Guan you join attack with him, which is just kind of disgusting if you ask me. So there's gonna be quite a lot of options. So if you want to go safe, you can go safe, but my tier list is for everyone. If you want to go brawlers, if you want to go DPS, if you want to go disruptors, I will give you my number one pick in that category, and you'll see the others lower down in these rankings, right? So the way I'm gonna have all of my rankings is pretty simple. My top picks are number A. In S, the A tier is going to be other top picks, meaning anyone else that I honestly think are what I would consider other top picks but not my number one choice are going to be in there, right? A lot of other content creators are probably going to have these as their top picks too, so you'll see quite a lot of contrast here, right? B are going to be just kind of like good heroes or niche heroes. Let me say that, niche heroes, right? So these are heroes that if you want to start with a specific playstyle in mind, you might want to go down these heroes, right? While C category is going to be heroes that I personally want to summon, so summon only. And that means in the game over time, I would rather try and summon that hero into my roster than trying to obviously pick it as a main starting lineup. And D obviously isn't going to be D for do not pick, but this is going to be more like PvP, because I think PvP heroes are good, but I don't think you're going to be needing them at the beginning. And I honestly think a lot of the D category heroes are going to be more PvP based. So that's how all of my categories are going to be looking for you guys, right? So my top picks, other top picks, some niche heroes, summoning only heroes that I want to go for, and then PvP. So then that kind of gives it a little bit more bread and, you know, breathing room on where we can place these heroes, right? Instead of trying to make the best heroes available at the S tier, because no one actually knows until the game comes out, right? And that's the honest to goddamn truth. So the first one, let's talk about him, Anu, the very first legendary hero here. He has the leader bonus, 50% defense in dungeon battles. He's a wisdom defender order unit from the Occur faction, if I remember correctly. And this is astral burst, basic attack on enemy, 200% defense, 100% attack. You place vanish on an ally with the lowest current HP for 1 turn. Then his core is a 5-turn cooldown to a 4. This is a place defense up 2 on all allies for 2 turns, protect 2 on all allies except this hero for 2 turns, and then his ultimate is placing Phoenix on allies for 2 turns, and then all allies except this hero will attack 1 target enemy, and if they are under protect 2, they will heal 30% damage of the inflicted, right? Really good hero here, and if you guys are wondering what the hell this hero does, don't worry, because like the main man himself and why I love his website, we've already got all of these kind of buffs and debuffs ready for you to use. So when we look at obviously Anu here, Vanish is just going to make sure that you cannot be targeted, and I know a lot of people are ranting and raving about this buff, so just to kind of show it for you guys, Vanish can be cannot be directly targeted. It does sound really good on paper, and honestly, it does probably in the early game for maybe a lot of the campaign get you through a lot of content. The thing is, Vanish just does not protect you against area of effect, and there is a lot of area of effect abilities tied to basics, tied to cores, and even ultimates in the game. So if your ally is on low HP, I don't think the Vanish is going to save them. If there's damage coming through, they're going to die compared to placing down maybe a defense up buff or actually trying to heal them or putting a shield on them in some degree. So the way I honestly read this basic is just do some damage. That is it, because the Vanish to me is not too valuable in the long run. The core is pretty good, defense up 2 on all allies and protection 2 on all allies. So if we go to the buffs here, you can see on the protection allies, this is 30%, right, of the damage what's inflicted to them goes to Anu instead. So he's taking that damage for them, which is very powerful, right? And on the same time giving them 40% extra defense. Now that is a lot better than the basic ability, right? So that makes him pretty darn good. When you look for now the Celestial Ward passive with the ultimate, these are where things get a little bit spicy, because the passive is for every 10% divinity on this hero, you reduce the damage of allies received by 3%. So technically, if you have this maxed out and you don't use your ultimate, you passively just make your allies take 30% less, which is pretty darn good, right? Imprint wise, I wouldn't too be bothered about the imprint. It's only 1.5%, so you're getting only the 15%, and maybe that could be a universal imprint to use on different heroes that might be able to just hold their ultimates. But the thing is with Anu, you do want to kind of ultimate with this hero. You are going to be placing Phoenix onto allies, so that means they're not going to die. So again, just to put up on the buffs for you, Phoenix instant revive upon death with 100% HP and 100% turn meter, so they get to go straight away. So that's what's really good about it. So you do want to use, you know, our boy's Anu's ultimate instead of holding it. But then all allies basically do a massive joint attack except Anu, right? And then if an ally is under the Protect 2 spell, which they should be from his core ability, well, they're going to heal some of that damage. So he's basically healing them while giving them these buffs, right? And giving them damage reduction. And the thing is, in the tier list, and this is going to probably shock a lot of people for my very first one, but I'll be honest, Anu to me is an A tier hero. He's not S tier. He's not in my top picks. He's fantastic. He's a great hero no matter what, right? Because of the way he's able to reduce the damage you're taking on your team, and he's redirecting damage to it basically to himself, and then he gets to heal them for the basically a little bit of shrapnel damage they've taken over time. I like it. It's a really cool playstyle, honestly. And even, like I said, the ultimate place in the Phoenix is actually very important, I feel like, for his kit. So his passive feels a little bit underwhelming because of that, but at least you always having some value while you're going up to the ultimate. But the basic is just not what I'm feeling. I'm really not feeling that basic. Vanish to me is just, it's a rare keyword. That's how it feels. Like, I wish maybe there is a Vanish team and a Vanish playstyle in Godforge. I will find it, I promise you. But for me, it's the most underwhelming keyword, unfortunately, in the game, right? So it is what it is. We can't obviously always have S tier heroes, but for me, I reckon it's an ace hero. Very good top pick still, but I think this might be other content creators' S tier pick, and I don't think it is. I actually think there's better choices. I honestly think there's better defender choices, and that's the hard truth of this game. Now, Anubis. This is going to shock a lot of people when we go over Anubis, but I actually am going to recommend Anubis a lot higher than Anu. The thing is with Anubis, anyone will tell you, if you've played Alpha, this brawler is a monster. This is because his skills of Soul Guide, which basically attacks an enemy for 6% of your maximum HP, with 6% attack 2 times. If you kill that enemy, you place Despair for 1 turn on all enemies, right? That disable is crazy, guys, because Despair skips their turn, and if, for example, someone had high enough resistance maybe to not get the Despair buff on them, like an Invoker, and they try to like defense up their team, or they try to, you know, give them mend, or whatever you want to call it, any of the blue buffs in the game, right? Any of these, anything, well, you're not having it. That Despair says that's not happening at all, and the duration is reduced obviously when that happens by 1 turn. But look, if you can keep getting Despair on, it becomes a bit of a monstrosity. I will be honest, it becomes quite disgusting to play against. So what you can do with Anubis is actually run very high HP like he wants to be, right? And run a lot of heroes that want to get joint attacks in, or if you can run imprints or passives that again can empower your basic ability or get him into joint attacks, is going to be really key for your Anubis, because Anubis will then come in, Despair the entire wave, you get to kill them one at a time, do it again, and you basically, as we call it in the pro scene, if you want to call it, we just Despair lock the wave. So you just constantly make them skip turns and you just kill them one at a time with this insane hero. But then you've got the core and ultimate, which is again attacking all enemies. Nice, a bit of AoE on that core, right? With a 75 to 100% chance to place Corrupt and Initiative 2 down, right? And these again, 2 big buffs, 20% of the initiative decrease, and Corrupt, any buffs that would have been on it, we steal. So if, again, argument's sake, someone was going to get Reflect or Radiance, guess what? The Anubis takes that instead. So now our Anubis has this insane HP pool with Radiance, or Reflect, or Retaliate, or Intercept, or Attack Up, or Defense Up, or Immortal, right? You can see why this is quite powerful as a hero, because he's able to do a lot with his kit with just 2 abilities alone. The ultimate is very flashy. It is very self-centered to himself. He attacks all enemies for a nice amount of damage, but if the hero, aka Anubis, is below 50%, you get to heal him 30% of that damage. But if you're above 50%, you get a barrier instead for 30% of the damage. So either way, if you're full health, you're going to be even tankier because of the barrier. And if you're in the dead zone, the danger zone, you can come back up, and hopefully your Invoker that you're going to be running can heal up obviously your Anubis and get him back into the fight, right? And that's kind of the aim for it. Really good hero, and I'm going to call it one of the only brawlers in this game I would recommend, and I actually mean that. This is the only one of the only brawlers in the entire Godforge Quest that I think is going to take the cake on here, right? He does have the passive just to add in the hero defeat, increase the hero's turn meter by 30% and 24% HP in all battles, which is disgusting. So when it comes to the actual picks, I'm going to be honest, this is going to shock a lot of people, but Anubis is in my S tier. If you want to play a complete different route, that isn't what all the content creators say, including myself, which is if you want to run invokers and tanks, do this, right? If you want to ignore that, go for it, right? And if you want to pick a brawler and try and have some damage out there, out of the brawlers, I would actually pick Anubis. Anubis is just so goddamn good and gets even better when you start getting some of the exploitation of joint attacks and just everything to do with his kit online. Honestly, he's such a good brawler. I think a lot of people in Alpha will agree, right? The only thing I will say about Anubis, and this is just to, again, before we move on to the next pick, just remember, if you're brand new to this game, you're a complete beginner, Anubis might be a little bit harder to use compared to someone else in these other S tier picks, right? And that's why you will see probably my Anubis on the far right over here. He'll be probably on the furthest right side, while you'll see some other heroes on the left side, because I am going to order it best from left to right. So the right is the last of the S tiers, if you want to say it, and then this is the first, right? Just to be completely transparent. And moving on to the next S tier, and honestly, I can't shadow it because I even picked him in my Godforge Quest, is Apollo. This hero is honestly just insane. He's insane, and I think many people are starting to come into realization how insane he was. I saw how insane he was just from the core and ultimate alone, and then I read that brand new basic, and I just was like, excuse me? So you get attack of one enemy for 200% attack for 2 times, which is great, right? Nice 2 little bang hit. But it's the fact that the first hit can mend on all allies, so you get an entire team heal on the first attack. And then the second attack adds a 50 to a 75% chance to place acid on that target for 2 turns, which is just disgusting. So this is going to allow you to, again, basically disable armor sets. And if you guys don't know, I'll just put it on screen. Disable armor sets and deal 5% of the max HP of the start of the turn. And what's really good is you basically deal double damage to shields and barriers. It's the counter to those barrier comps. So you're going to think this one hero already does quite a lot from just his basic ability alone, right? That's why I really, really like him. So when we go into, obviously, the core now, it attacks one enemy for 200% attack, but then you place an attack up 2, which is a 40% attack buff. Let me just check. Yep. 40% attack buff on all allies for 2 turns, and then also equalizes the divinity of allies with the lowest divinity to this hero's divinity, right? This is crazy. Just this alone is crazy, because Brad called me out in DMs, and again, thank you for letting me know how this works. But if Apollo is on 95% at divinity and he's about to ultimate, and let's just say you used, I don't know, let's just say like a Viviane ultimate or Heimdall's ultimate. Let's just do that. We used Heimdall's ultimate to get all these buffs and just go crazy with the shield, right, on our team. Well, I can then use my core ability on Apollo and equalize that 0% all the way to 95%. So when I originally read equalize for this core ability, and you can check it out in my original video, I was under the assumption this equalizes at an average, and it does not, from what I've been told in DMs by the Godforge devs themselves, right? So this is going to bring someone, boom, all the way up, and that is just insane on what you can do. And then to finish it off, his ultimate is attacks all enemies for 150%, reduce the cooldown of each ally core ability by 1 turn, and for each ally under mend, you increase their divinity by 15%, and for each enemy under acid, you decrease their divinity by 15%. So you create a 30% divinity tempo swing, right? It's a differential on that, which is just so good. And then what's really game breaking is you kind of break the game, right? One of the fundamental rules, which is turns, right? Instead of waiting your turn on cooldowns, we are now speeding cooldowns of core abilities. And this is going to get out of hand if you've got core abilities that are on 3-turn cooldowns, because if you've got a 3-turn cooldown, you can, guess what? Make that go down so it's your second turn, hit Apollo, now you're on a 1-turn cooldown, and depending on what you were doing, if it was a 2-turn buff, well, it's going to fall off and it's that turn now and you can put it back up. So you're always going to have such high uptime. It's kind of just crazy with this, right? If you want to know what Mend does, because I know this is a new keyword for some of the new players might be checking out the video, Mend reduces the bleed stacks by 1, but more importantly, it heals 10% of that unit's maximum HP. So you always heal 10% of your HP at the start of the turn. Mend is very good for honestly consistently healing compared to certain heroes like Emotep that can just burst heal for a massive amount of HP when you need him to. So it is the healing over time versus burst healing arguments that you can be making for these different types of buffs and heroes, right? What's even crazier though is I haven't even mentioned with Apollo specifically his basic and core also have synergy, meaning later on, when you're playing the game, if you find Artemis, you get bonuses on top. So with the basic, she joins in the attack, and Artemis has got some really cool skills, which we will be seeing soon. Obviously, you've got the core, which is if Artemis is on the team, she also equalizes her divinity. So with this core ability, I basically can cheat 2 heroes on my team to have their ultimate all the way up and match my Apollos, which is just crazy if you ask me. Like, if you really can understand that divinity management of this team, it's gonna go crazy. So honestly, if you guys haven't guessed it, for me, Apollo, with his passive as well, forgot his passive, whenever an ally uses his core ability, you increase the damage of their core ability. So if they've got good core damage, guess what? We're going to be cooking damage too. Yeah, he just does everything. I can't say anything bad about this hero. He is insane. And if you've not guessed it, he's my top pick. And at the moment, I've got him locked in, and he's 100% better than Anubis, I will admit. But again, it's a different play style. If you want to go for an invoker, you would go for Apollo. But if you not want to be, you want to be a bit more adventurous and you want to go for a brawler, then that's why Anubis is here, right? It's as simple as that, right, with this tier list. So easy S tier, though. My top pick, Apollo, right, of this. So moving on, next hero on here, Ares, and this is going to be sadly a quick one for this one, because if you just go down his kit, you're going to see the issue that we're going to have with him. Attack one enemy 3 times, you decrease the target's defense by 2%, it stacks up to 10 times, which is 20%, and then each strong hit also decreases the target's initiative by 5. This goes up to 10, meaning by 50 at max, right? Really cool. Brutal Cleave is attack all enemies 440%, ignores shield and barrier on each target. But if the target is strong hit, you remove all shield and barrier from each target. And if the enemy is defeated, you increase this hero's divinity by 10%, meaning his ultimate gets faster, right? The ultimate is attacks one enemy 2 times. You ignore protect, intercept, immortal, and ward. And if the attack is a strong hit, you also ignore 20% of the target's defense. So if you've not guessed it, this hero, Ares, is as aggressive as possible in the game. But the one thing I really like about his kit is conditional, and you will see later on a hero that has an unconditional part of their exact same core, and that is the fact that if you strong hit, you remove all shields and barriers from each target. That one line alone is very powerful, right? You can literally just strip shields, like you just strip a shield instantly, right? As long as you strong hit it. But that's if you strong hit it. There is another hero in this tier list that you'll notice that has this exact same ability, but without the requirement to strong hit. The way I look at Ares, and as many people will look at Ares, especially because of his leader bonus, kind of telling you what he wants to be in. He is a PvP hero. He is there to design to basically, no matter what in PvP, if you have him, you should be able, as you can see with the ultimate, to ignore, protect, intercept, immortal, and ward, meaning you can kill those mean targets like you need to, like maybe another enemy Ares, for example, right? Because that's their DPS. You also have the ability for the core and the basics to basically overtime in the PvP fight to either shred the opponent's shields or decrease their defense, which is going to be really important too, just to get through these tanks. So if you've not guessed it, this hero, sadly, Ares, not in the niche heroes, is in the PvP. He's a PvP hero. I'm going to obviously eventually summon him, but he is just PvP. Let's just be real. He's not bad, not a bad hero at all, but he's PvP. And to me, I need a hero that can do more things that's not just PvP, right? And that's what you'll notice these heroes can do on their own too. They can tackle a lot of different content, no matter what that content is, because how versatile they are in the team. So the next hero though, ooh, boys, we've been waiting for her. Athena. We've just done a video on her. You can check it out yesterday if you want to get my full initial reaction on her. But I will tell you, from her skills alone, this hero is just insanely good. This is one of, in my opinions, the safest and best picks for defenders that you can be picking. She is just crazy. She is just crazy. The basic ability is attack one enemy. You get 220% defense with 120% attack on that, which is a nice little stab. But what's really good compared to Anu is you actually put a defense up 2 on all allies for 1 turn. And as we already know, look, I'd rather have a defense up 2 buff that is gonna keep them alive than I would have that vanish buff, right? You gotta think with the defense up 2 buff, we're gonna have a 40% increase on defensive stats. That might actually save us in any AoE or single target targeting on that hero compared to trying to vanish, and even we might stop the one person single targeting, but the AoE is going to come through, and the AoE is going to kill us anyway. So I would rather have a defense up than the vanish, in my opinion, right? That's just how I look at things, right? So then when we go into the core, you have the strongest core shield in the game. This is a 4-turn cooldown, goes to a 3-turn cooldown, 400% shield on all allies, and you reduce damage inflicted by allies by 5%, and it stacks up to 3 times. So you got to think you're reducing incoming damage by 15% to your allies as well. Really good. This is good throughout waves because you can get the initial shield that you need in those waves. In boss fights, you're going to have that 15% online all the time, basically throughout that fight, which is fantastic. You can literally use this anywhere in the game, and I'm telling you, she's keeping you alive. She's that good of a tank. Her armor attacks all enemies, which is great, a little bit of AoE in her kit, right? But what's really good is you increase the damage of the next ultimate by 3% each time an ally is attacked under shield, right? And this is going to be really important because we need to see how this actually works because of how that 3% is perceived. Because if we get the shield on and we can keep a shield on no matter what, does this 3% infinitely stack? And if it infinitely stacks, again, in a boss fight alone, that's nuts, right? If it's not, don't worry about it, because even in a single wave with 4 or 5 teammates, right, you've got to think that is going to be 12 to 15% increase of damage on the next ultimate each time an ally is attacked, right? You got to think that is a lot of damage if that is the way it's going to be accumulating on, right? So in my opinion, if that is how Athena's ult and all of her kit works, she is going to be crazy. On top of it, her passive, and this is why I think a lot of people will start to realize why she is going to be an S tier hero, and this is because an ally under shield is attacked, you have a 70% chance to place Petrify for 1 turn. This is craziness because Petrify is a disgusting disable. This is one of the best disables again in the game that we like. Petrify skips their next turn, and you increase the affinity effects are reduced by 50%. So if you had any buffs, or if you were going to obviously increase your affinity, guess what? It's cut in half, boys and girls, and you skip their next turn, which is very, very powerful. And because of this, you got to think, when we're looking at our Athena here, this is as long as an ally is under a shield. Boys and girls, I don't know if you ever played the alpha, but there's a rare hero called Tristan. There is Brynhild, right? There is a lot of good rares and epic heroes that we can play with that generate shields. And if you have 2 defenders that can generate shields, and then maybe a invoker and a really strong DPS to keep your team going through, your 2 tanks should be able to keep you alive no matter what, petrify these enemies constantly, and allow your DPS to one at a time bang them, right? I honestly think she is a fantastic hero. I think out of all of the heroes that we've seen so far, especially in terms of defenders or brawlers, she takes the cake, right? She honestly takes the cake. She's second up there. She's better than Anu in my opinion, but she's not as good as Apollo, and that might be just because of how Apollo can create some insane synergies and team compositions, while if you think that Athena is kind of like the jack of all trade tank, that she is gonna be tanking every single thing and not allowing anyone to die, and she's gonna be increasing your damage too, which is just phenomenal. What else could you ask for out of a beginner tank? Let's be real, right? So now we're getting to the hero a lot of people love, Cizin, and as you guys know, Cizin is an insane DPS, one of the actual DPSs I really like in this game that you could potentially pick. This is a hero that, if you've not noticed, on his basic, core, and ultimate has attack all enemies, and the thing that's different is the basic deals acid onto them with a 60% chance for 2 turns, while the Groundquake core does a blaze 2 for 2 turns with a 75% to 100% chance. What's really cool about him is when you attack all enemies though, you activate these acid or blaze stacks, and the target also applies precision on this hero for 1 turn. And I know that's a lot to take in, I know it's a lot to take in, but don't worry, I've got you covered here, right? Because the blaze is quite easy. You deal damage to 4% of the maximum HP of an enemy to all of the heroes on the team, so it's like an AoE damage over time, but it's on that target that's on it, right? And then we've got obviously the acid up here that is just disgusting. Precision though is the ability to, I believe, increase the damage, not the damage, increase the chance of this effect to go off, I believe, or strong hit. It's one of those, right? Either way, I'm gonna be honest with you, that doesn't matter. That really doesn't matter, because if they're under acid, which they're most likely going to be because of your core ability, his passive is online, which is reducing their incoming healing by 50%. This is one of the first heroes, I think, out of all of them, I don't need to speak too much on, because as you can see, being obviously chaos, he's a slayer, he's obviously strength based at the very top there. He's S tier. And the thing is, out of these 2 heroes, this is going to be a really interesting argument, and I think a lot of people would love to have this argument, because you could have Cizin, and I will tell you, Cizin is the AoE king, it looks like. Like, if you want to AoE after AoE after AoE, joint attack, AoE, you name it, Cizin's your boy, right? But Despair Lock is very powerful, and it's going to be the argument of what's more powerful between these 2. The thing is, what I will say, and I will bump Cizin up because of this, is having all that AoE does mean, no matter what, as a newer player too, you're always going to have that farmer. You know what I mean? Like, if you're in the campaign, you're in certain dungeons that you need to farm gear sets for, you know Cizin 9 times out of 10 is going to deal enough damage just to go bap, 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 and kill every single unit in the game, right? So that's going to be quite simple. So moving on to the next hero, we've got Dracula, and Dracula is going to be one that isn't going to get on the high list. This is going to be one of our first low heroes on here. So this is going to be a very niche hero, but you can pick Dracula if you want to go down this weird start, and this is why he's a niche hero. He's all about bleed. You want to place bleed onto target. You can read his basic and core abilities and ultimates there. By placing bleed, basically your ultimate is going to take it off them and increase his damage of his ultimate by 80%, and that is going to be for each of those 4 instances of damage. So there's a lot of single target DPS that comes out, and at the same time, if they've got bleed on them, when you do activate that ultimate, it's increased as well by 10%. The thing is with Dracula, and this is the real selling point on him, and the only selling point on him, he's one of the only heroes that actually has a starting hero that works with him. Let's be real. Having Lady Shock and Dracula is a really powerful combo, and they actually work really well together. The issue is, as you probably guessed it, before any other thing happens, right? I got too in-depth on this hero. To me, he's a niche hero. I obviously would pick him only in these scenarios. Maybe if you really like Dracula and you really like that lore and the story of Dracula, or if you want to go down this bleed team where you're going to run maybe like Dracula with that Lady Shock. In an early game, you're going to be looking for like a Shishi, you know, Tristan, as we've already keep mentioning, Isolde, Brynhild, maybe Emotep, right? There's quite a lot of support you can try and find to help you get that online and achieve that, right? But you got to remember, it's gonna be a little bit harder if you go down this route. And compared to the other brawler, Anubis, I honestly feel like Anubis is so good on his own. Like, he doesn't need anything. You can just build him as a damage nuker and he can just start despair locking from the get-go. And that's what's really good about that hero compared to him. So this is honestly a little bit sad to see, but it's our first B hero, so why not actually, you know, get it in where it needs to be, right? So the next hero on here is Freya, and Freya is another really good fucking pick, guys. Mind my language, but she's really fucking good, guys. Like, she's really fucking good, guys. Like, Jesus. So this basic ability attacks one enemy, and like I was saying earlier, compared to Anu, does something much better. With the enemy ally with the lowest HP, you place Mend on them for 2 turns, and that could actually save them compared to the Vanish. It's as simple as that. So instantly a better basic than Anu. The core ability equalizes an ally's turn meter equal to the enemy of the highest turn meter, and then you increase the turn meter of all allies by 20%. So the way this basically works is you're going to be, again, if you've got someone who's just had their turn, right, and now Freya's coming in, you're able to bring their turn back up basically and take over the enemy's turn. And that's all you're doing here. You're stealing the enemy's turn with whoever has just committed their turn on your side, right? So this is really good turn manipulation, really good ways of actually maybe comboing as well, depending with what basic and core abilities of your team composition. So she really helps that. And what's cool as well is she permanently increases her own healing by 20%, basically because it stacks up to 4 times with 5% stack each time. So you got to think, even that mend is going to be helping you 20% better as this is going off. The ultimate gives you an attack up to and a sharpen up to, which are really good buffs as well for your heroes. And then you, on all allies as well, for 2 turns, you attack one enemy, but then attack all enemies, and you increase the attack and critical damage of each ally by 10%. And why I really like this hero, again, is there's a lot of good options that you could be picking. You could run Guan Yu as your starting hero. He will love this. If he can hit something and drain and get that attack and critical damage off, we're buzzing. If you've got Beowulf, if you've got Gilgamesh, these are epic-based heroes that will absolutely love this type of buff, right? And especially with the passive, whenever an ally critical hits, which we always want to do with 100% crit rate on our DPS, you heal 1200% of the initiative from Freya to our ally. Like, wow! Yeah. As you can see, caveman noises means she's up there, man. She is honestly the second hottest pick for me. These two are so close. I always said to myself, if I see Freya or Apollo, I honestly don't know which one I'm going to pick because they're both so good. It's unreal, right? So those already are two of my top picks. As you can see, are invokers there, but they're insanely good for those two invoker slots that are going in there, right? So moving on is going to be our 9th hero. This is going to be Fujin, a defender. And this attacks all enemies for 210% on his basic. 50% chance to put a resistance down too, which means they can get susceptible to more debuffs and stuff, which is great. And if you have the combo of Raijin on the team, he will also join the attack. Very similar to what we've just seen with Apollo, which is really good. But the core is attack all enemies as well, and place protection 2 on all allies except this hero, but then you play Stalwart on all allies for 1 turn. And Stalwart is a new keyword that you've just seen for you guys. So as you guys know, for all the new players, I will explain what Stalwart does. This means you're immune to disables and duration is reduced when receiving a disable. So if someone tries to freeze you, obviously despair you, like we've seen already, or petrify you, Stalwart will take the hit and you won't get disabled, which is really, really good. So I'll be honest, Fujin here is a beast of a hero. I actually think he's really good. The armor as well is what makes me really like him, because he transfers 1 debuff from each ally to him, but then he attacks an enemy and transfers all the debuffs from his hero to that target. And why I really like this is because obviously for each debuff you get the barrier, but in boss fights, you gotta think, how is this gonna interact? If you're in a big boss fight and I can get Fafnir and he's, putting all these debuffs on all of my team now, and I can grab all of those debuffs onto Fujin and then throw them at Fafnir. Bro, Fafnir is going to have a really bad day. So it's going to be really interesting how this works. So I think a lot of people are not giving Fujin as much love as they should, just because they see the Raijin synergy. The way you should be looking at that Raijin synergy, in all honesty, is a bonus. So if you have Fujin, guess what? You're going to be cooking. And if you've got Raijin, guess what? It's going to be cooking even more. And that is the honest to goddamn truth. His Cyclone Barrier passive is also really good. You reduce the damage received by allies from AoE attacks by 30%. 30% damage reduction just for existing in life. Imagine breathing next to Fujin and he just said, don't worry, you see that tail swipe, it's 30% less, buddy. I've got you covered. That is huge when it comes to, honestly, damage reduction and being a tank. So I really like Fujin too. It's kind of hard to place these heroes sometimes in these categories, because when we look at him, I honestly think this hero could be an STA defender. I honestly think he could be an STA defender. Especially, I think he's better than Anu, which sounds crazy to a lot of people, but I really do think in certain areas. However, I'm going to be fair and put him in the A category. I honestly think there is a few other S tier heroes that are going to be in this S tier category compared to him, but he is still a top pick. I honestly think it's very close, him being an S or an A tier hero, and that is just because we personally have never played with him, so we don't know how powerful he actually is in game. But you got to think he definitely is going to be great in a lot of variety of content for you, and he'll be able to be in your main team too as you push through campaign, in my eyes. So he is going to be a top pick, maybe not as safe as Athena, and that's where maybe he doesn't drop into that S tier ranking, right? Now we're going to get into a controversial pick. It's my boy Grendel. Oh boy, Grendel. This is, you're looking at, I'm calling it now, the second cheat code in the game, potentially. We saw that basic ability already in effect with Zeus. and he has it as well. And what's really crazy about this hero is the fact that, yes, he's a brawler, as you can see with this little symbol here on this little bit there. But because he is a brawler, he's scaling with HP. And when you read the kit of Grendel, he scales his own HP, which is just insane. Like, you could have built him as good as you can, and he will take himself even further. And what's really disgusting is Endless Rampage should act like you want it to act. Killing something, and then killing something, and then killing something. And if you don't kill it, you're not worried, because you will be combining Grendel with obviously joint attack heroes. I can name the legendaries like Aphrodite, obviously your Viviane, your Shamashes and stuff, but there is joint attacks in the rares, right? Like Hippolyta allows Olympians to join attacks, right? So when you can join an attack, Grendel is going to be able to do that. And if he is in the target defeat in that join attack, he takes an extra turn. He just steals the turn unless the devs have changed this from alpha. It's bonkers. It is bonkers. I actually am going to call this hero, I am not kidding you, an S tier hero. And in my eyes, I want Grendel over Cizin or the Despair Lock. Because as many people will say, and I am in the same boat, hey, Despair Lock's cool. But you know what's better? If they're just dead. Like, if I just kill them, does it matter about Despair? No. And that's why I love it, right? And I reckon if you pick Grendel, those Grendel players are going to have an absolute whale of a time. It will feel, honestly, like you're playing the speedrun hero out of the brawlers. That is how it's going to feel in my eyes when you pick Grendel. He is that insane of a hero, right? Moving on to Hades, and obviously Simon in the game himself is behind the mask. He just didn't want to illuminate those eyes up, so he didn't give it away, right? But obviously being in the game, I actually think this hero is really good. However, this is going to be one of the first heroes that's going to make it onto, you've probably guessed it, and I will put him in straight away and explain the C category. I actually want this hero, but I want him to be summoned. I would actually think a lot of players in the same boat would rather try and summon this hero than start with this hero. That's only because when you read his abilities, they are really freaking cool, but it's for certain style of content, and being a disruptor too doesn't give him too much leeway, and the leader bonus kind of screwed him over, because if it was all battles for 26% or 21% speed, it would have changed everything, because I would have been able to use him everywhere. But because it's arena battles, I'm not too fussed. This is kind of like a PvP hero, and all honesty, you can lock down passives, I believe, if I remember correctly, or you can lock down, oh, that's it, lock down ultimates, I apologize. You can lock down ultimates, and then you can place Curse 2 onto the targets, right, which is pretty cool. He's a lot of, like, debuffs, curse oriented, and the speed on too, but he's not game changing for me, right? He might be an arena based hero and he might be really good in here, but you'll notice because of the kit he actually has, and I know, like, I think it was Sage who loves Shinigami and stuff, like, having this curse and luck ultimate and despair and sleep all in one kit is a lot of crowd control. It's a lot of disables and debuffs, and because of that, it really can save your team. Like, if you stop someone from ultimating and they just can't, obviously, like, AoE kill someone, or maybe they can't revive because you've locked their ultimate, that is huge, right? Stopping that Shamash revive is huge. Stopping Viviane's going off is huge, right? But I don't think it's one of those things that you're going to be wanting from the early game. This is going to be something maybe more mid or late game that you're going to pull and be more happier about. And that is the sad truth. So, yeah, Mr. Hades, C tier, summon only if I can. That's how it's going to be. And now we're getting into the juice, the gas himself. I don't want to say it's the juice, guys. It's the juice. Oh, no, it's Heimdall. Right, okay. how are we going to talk about Heimdall? I know. I'm just going to put him in the category after explaining his kit, and then I'll see how many people get triggered. So, Heimdall, Defender. Attacks one enemy, 190%, 120. You also transfer a random debuff from this hero to the target, and if there's any burn, bleed, or acid debuffs are transferred, you activate them during the transfer. Meaning, obviously, if there is a bleed on him and you trigger this basic, you can send it to the enemy, they get the bleed, and they instantly take 1 instance of damage, which is pretty cool. It was really fundamentally part of how we broke Fafnir, let's be real. The core is the Retaliate and Intercept, and that is what makes him super disgusting in the game. And then you've got the ultimate, which is placing the defense up 2 and that 300% shield with the protection too. And the thing is, this is going to catch a lot of people off guard, I reckon, but I'm going to put him in the A tier. He's not my top pick. I think he's others people's top picks, but I don't think he's my top pick. I actually do think he's better than both of these other defenders, though. I actually think he's one of the best defenders in the game, like Athena. The issue I have with Heimdall is pretty simple. I don't think Heimdall is actually an early game hero. I actually feel like when you play with Heimdall, you start to feel like when you're in the end game and you've got your gear and you've got your imprint and you've got your weapons and you've got your team working as they're supposed to do, that's when Heimdall really shines, because when you get to use Heimdall's core ability and give that Retaliate and that Intercept on all allies for 2 turns, when you do that AoE move on them, right, you go off crazy. Like, your team just literally can clean up on their own, right? The thing is, I have the issue is like getting obviously up to the ultimate. The ultimate is good, and obviously when you look at the passive, it is good too. The fact that you can reflect any debuffs. But again, this hero to me felt more mid to late game. It didn't feel like an early game hero, and because of that, he is a top tier pick, but I don't think he's in my picks, and he's gonna be in the A tier, honestly, and that is just how we're gonna put it. Hell is gonna be very similar, as we've just kind of said, and it's quite upsetting to say. Hell is a really interesting hero. I actually think she is one of the hardest hitting types of heroes in the game. The only issue I have with this hero is the fact that when you start to read her abilities, she has a 100% chance to spread curse onto 1 random enemy. She also places curse 2 with her core, and she basically wants you to be playing with curses to obviously get this rolling, but her numbers are ridiculously high. 425% attack is one of the highest we've seen, attacks all enemies, and the 520% attack, again, attacks all enemies. The revive all dead enemy part of it and the confuse does not matter. You can watch my full breakdown if you want on my channel earlier on, which is either my first or second review video of all the hero cards, which explains like the confuse basically covers the 2-turn revive and buys you 2 turns in your favor to do things. The issue is with this hero, though, I think she is gonna be a niche hero. I think she's good, and I think she's like in that Dracula camp where if you want a really cool looking DPS and you don't want to follow my advice and you don't want to follow content creators' advice, but you do want to go and pick a damage dealing hero and you love the look at Hell, I can understand why. She won't be in the A tier for me or the S tier, and she's not a summon only camp, and she's not PvP. So to me, she fits that niche role, and to be honest, you can build around her quite easily. It's not hard to build around a Hell. Many people actually enjoyed playing with Hell in Alpha Wave 3, especially the newer players who actually got access to her. So that's it. That's going to be kind of simple for Hell. There's nothing else to put for her. And the next one, though, Hercules. Oh, boy. So, this is going to upset, I think, a lot of players. But let's just put Hercules in C tier. I'll be ruthless here. He's a cool hero. He's cool. I love him and I hate him. But I would only want to summon him. I don't want to start with him because it feels like you can't really build really well around him apart from those joint attack moves. But what I really despise about this guy is the fact that like his ultimate I need to trigger 12 times to get the immortal. Then I've got to like do all this like while I'm under immortal, then I get the 100% stun. And if I don't have a support in my team that grants me immortal like the Sphinx does, bro, it's so hard to get that online. Yes, his passive is really good, and many people might look at his imprint, and I will tell you, his imprint is a good universal imprint. That's all it is. It's a universal imprint. It's like a jack of all trades. It's gonna 50% of the time, basically, you know, not 50% of the time, but basically, it's going to prevent that hero's death and heal them for 50% of the amount, which is okay, but they might just die because of the enemy's next turn anyway. It just depends on how it's positioned, you know what I mean? So it's okay, it's not insane. And because of all of those reasons, like, to me, he's in the summon category. I would rather play with Dracula. I think Dracula is so much more fun, and I can start with Lady Shock as a starting hero, and I've already got two heroes cooking together, right? I could pick any of these A-tier heroes, and I'd be much happier, and I'd rather pick, honestly, Grendel as a brawler, who can just basically be Zeus 2.0 nearly, and then we've got this Anubis here that can just go down a different play style and despair lock enemies. And because of those reasons, like, Hercules in my eyes just gets outclassed. And if you want acid, guess what? Ramses exists early game. Pick him and you don't have to worry about Hercules. And that's the honest to goddamn truth, right? So moving on to the next hero, the next one in the lineup, 15 of 32. We're getting through it. I know it's a long video, but hey, hopefully you guys have been enjoying all of the reasonings and sometimes the long explanations and some of the lower explanations. But we have been going through all the buffs too when we've needed to go through them. And this is going to be one of the new ones, right? So we've got Radiance 2 on Showcase here as well. This is going to be basically the ability for you, as you can see now, 20% reflect and reduction of damage received, and that is a huge one. Being able to honestly reduce damage by 20% and flip it back at them is quite disgusting. And when you look at Isis, she is one of the best invokers in the game. She is, like, and what's really good about this hero is just how good she is compared to, honestly, tanks. It sounds crazy, but I'm telling you, she can out-tank a tank, it feels like. You build her only with HP because her core ability goes off 20% of it. And you place that shield on all allies, you give them a defense up 2, which is going to increase their defense now by 40%. And this is for 3 turns. Like, what are we talking about here? And then you get an extra turn. So then, after you've done this ability, you can choose to either hit them with a basic and try and steal a random buff from an enemy player and then, you know, buff it to all your allies and spread it across. Or you can ultimate and maybe revive someone that you need to revive. Or if you've got Horus in the team, he gets the Radiance 2 buff on as well, right? So, like, this hero, no matter what you do, is insane. Right, she has passive healing through her passive. She can steal buffs and spread them. She can shield and defense up 2. She's very easy for even the most beginner players to work with. And she gives you 70 resistance, should I say, in all battles. This hero, guys, is just S tier, man. He's in there. She's in the top 3 for me, as you'll notice. She's in my top 3. I might do it like this. I'm going to do it like this. This is my top 5 picks so far. So my top 5 is Apollo, Freya, Isis, Grendel, and Athena. And as we go down, obviously this might move, but yeah, she's just one of those picks. And yes, she's an invoker, and you'll see all of these are invokers, but what you'll notice with these invokers is you can play them with any heroes and go for any play styles now, right? And this is where we're going to get to the hot one. And I think this is going to be the hottest one to pick. And I'm going to be as fair as I can, because I honestly think Izanagi here is one of the best support heroes in the entire game. Like, he honestly is that good. Like, I actually do want to call him nearly better than Isis and Freya in that, right? He's that good of a hero. The problem is, he's a very high skill ceiling hero, right? Increasing the divinity of all allies by 5%, placing initiative 2 on all allies for 2 turns, and reducing the divinity cost of all allies by 10%. That is a 30% reduction. That is one of the biggest in the games because it's a percentage. And this is what we're going to talk about later on with another hero, which you guys know, that also does a very similar thing. This is a percentage. Percentages can be a lot more than a flat amount, right? The ultimate also plays an attack up 2 on all allies, increases the divinity of all allies by 20%, increases the damage of each ally's next ultimate ability, and yeah, like, this hero is just insane. However, he needs to go into, honestly, 2 categories only, and that is either B or C. And that isn't because he's a bad hero. He is, if we were going to do a power list, who is the most strongest in opinions, he would be S tier. He's literally up here. Like, that's where he would be. The issue is, he is a very hard hero to make work on the sole purposes. You really need the payoffs, and you really need to understand the management of this hero with your team. And if you can, he will make your team go absolutely crazy. But at the same time, as you probably noticed, you need that team for that to work. So in my eyes, if it's a B hero, this is more likely a starting hero that people might pick as a spicy starter for like a pro. Like, if you're a pro in raid or something, you might try this out as a spicy pick. But for me, I'm going to try and summon him. But I think, obviously, he's the top of the summoning pile. You know what I mean? He's insane, right? He's just absolutely insane. But in terms of actually picking a hero and getting a hero that can go through all the content and you're not having to worry about it, you know, he is unfortunately like in that boat where it's not for everyone, and that is just the honest truth, right? And it's kind of the same with Izanami. Izanami, you can see there's some really cool stuff, and this is what I was saying earlier on about Ares, right? Ares is really cool because he can strip the shield, but guess what? Izanami can do it without strong hitting, and on top of this, she attacks all enemies and has a chance to place corrupt on them, which is a really good keyword, as we already know. So because of that, this is just kind of one of those heroes that does better stuff than, again, Ares, but I don't think I care about this unless it is, again, you probably guessed it, PvP. I'm not too bothered about her. She's just a really cool disruptor. But with Izanagi, yes, you get that little bit more out of her, but I don't think that makes her any better. I think Izanagi is infinitely better than this hero, right? So when it comes to it, honestly, I'd rather just summon her again. I think she might be a PvP-based hero. Someone might be able to, you know, confirm that, and that might be where you want to put her. But for me, she's going to be like a summon-only hero. Worry about her in summoning, and then move on, right? Next hero, getting into the finales here, guys. Lamashtu, 18 out of 32. Attack one enemy with that basic, obviously 2 times, and if it's defeated, you get a massive AoE, basically. It's just so cool. The AoE is attacks all enemies 300%, which is going to now do 50% more, and if it defeats 3 or more enemies, you instantly reset its cooldown, and you get 200 divinity, so you can start going off. The ultimate, again, just does absolute monstrous. I'm going to be honest, this is the one hero out of all the DPSs that we've talked about so far that I am going to put confidently above the rest. Lamashtu is just insane. I know it sounds crazy because obviously we've got Cizin, the king of AoE, but what I think and this is me, because I'm a very greedy player, and maybe people like to be greedy just like me too. But the thing is, what you'll notice is with that core ability, if I'm going against 3 or 4 people, and obviously, you know, I'm trying to wave clear, if I can just go core with Lamashtu, I'm basically doing the exact same thing as Cizin, but then on top of it now, I've got a single target skill, which is really good because it hits 2 times. So that means if I go against certain bosses, if I go against certain dungeons, whatever, and they have mechanics where you need to hit multiple times, Lamashtu gets the, obviously, favoring on that. And then the ultimate places an attack 2 on his hero for 2 turns, and then blasts everyone as well. For each enemy defeated, you summon a demon of pestilence, which explodes and does the solar eruption passive, which is again AoE. So it's just really crazy that you've got this hero that does AoE on AoE, and when she kills stuff with her single attack stuff too, it could again blow up with the passive soul eruption. So honestly, out of all of the DPSs so far, she takes the cake, even over Grendel, which is quite quite scary, because I think maybe Grendel might be squeezing up there after we test it. But on the safe side, she is banging, absolute banging, right? Next hero is Loki, and Loki is going to be one of the other heroes that we're going to get to join in the D category. The thing is with Loki, no hate on this hero, is definitely better than he was in the alpha from what we're looking at, but the same thing is he gets to charm the target with accuracy and attack buffs, but he doesn't want to. And that's what I feel like is the issue, because he doesn't get any defense. There's no defense for him to do that, right? So if he charms that target, he's taking the hits, he could just die before he even gets off his ultimate. And that is like the big issue with Loki, and that's how I see him. I don't know what backfire does. We have to wait and see, because that's a brand new keyword for 2 turns. But as many people, including myself, and I think Mo said as well, this is more likely a PvP hero. This is going to be a hero that you're going to be wanting in PvP, and when you get them in PvP, you'll be probably cooking a lot of players that don't have him, right? But if you're not in PvP, it's not going to be one thing at the moment that it feels like you're going to be needing for campaign, dungeons, towers, bosses, maybe certain events that they do, like seasonal events, and even more content that might come into the game. You just don't know, right? It just doesn't feel like you can cover multiple grounds. Let's be real. Moving into the next hero, and this is one hero I actually really freaking like, but I can't recommend to you guys. I know. Metztli. She is really good. Attacks one enemy, 300% attack, and you restore 10% destroyed HP of the ally with the most destroyed HP. This is going to make sense when you start to read her ultimate, which also revives all defeated allies with 40% health and turn meter, but you restore 20% of each ally's destroyed HP, and you increase the divinity, right? As you'll notice, she is going to be that one support. You can guess it already. She is going to be the number 1 support in probably 2, 3, or maybe 4 different types of dungeons or bosses, because she is your like utility stripper, right? If anyone's disabling you, anyone's debuffing you, right? If any of the bosses are destroying maximum HP, which they're most likely going to be, this is that one invoker in the game that deals with that task, right? But that doesn't give her the ability to be an S or A tier hero. So in my eyes, what I would consider with her is actually a summon hero, but I want her as much as I want like an Izanagi, right? Because this hero, when you summon her, right, is going to be great to have in that roster and switch out from time to time, because whenever this hero uses an ability, it has a 50% chance to spread one random buff from this hero to all allies. So you could be playing playstyles like Metztli with Pandora and maybe like a DPS and a super tank like Athena, and basically have this like composition that steals buffs and steals stuff from the enemies, and then Metztli can spread it to your team, and your team can just then hit like an absolute truck, which is really cool and she gives you 20% speed in all battles, which is really, really good as well. However, as you can guess, her kit is very tailored to specific content, and we kind of want to start off with a hero, even if it's an invoker, if it's a defender, a brawler, or a slayer, as you've seen with my tier list, that can kind of tackle with a bit of everything, so you don't feel as tunneled, or you don't feel like you can't progress as far as you hope that you could have gone through, right? So because of that, she is in the C category, right? The C category. Let's put it on the right one so you guys can actually see. I do apologize. So moving on into the next hero. Oh god, we've been waiting for it. I know you guys have. Morgan Le Fay. Oh Jesus Christ. So this is another Slayer. And this is going to be a very hard one because I honestly think she is so good, because you get to attack all enemies, you get to place that vulnerable to, and you also activate a random debuff. Why this is so powerful is instantly because of the starting heroes. Many people don't understand why people are hyped about Morgan. It's because you can start with Lady Shock or Ramses. If you start with Lady Shock, you have two heroes, Morgan and Lady Shock, that can place bleed. And because they both can place bleed, she already has someone now that can activate a random debuff. So you can have Lady Shock that AoEs everyone, right? Puts the bleed on. Morgan comes up, boom, AoEs and nearly tries to kill them, and if not, puts the vulnerable 2 on and then activates the 2 stacks of bleed basically that's on them. Your core also gives you the ability to put Aetherburn, Blaze 2, Acid, or Bleed at random, so you get even more dots that you can be triggering. And then what people do get a little bit upset is the way she strips these debuffs, and we will need to test if it's going to be any better. But I do believe if you're able to strip 5 buffs and 5 buffs and 5 buffs, and this keeps increasing her damage inflicted by 25%, you're gonna be happy, because the thing is, you can do that at such a fast rate with just, again, Lady Shock and Morgan. You're gonna be laughing. And if you're adding other heroes, like even, you know, I'm trying to think who also is like a tank that puts bleeds on them, right? But you could do stuff like that, and that's gonna make this hero go even crazier. You could even put on like a Shamash and later down, right, in the late game, and that's going to give you another joint attack into this. So Morgan is going to be one of these heroes that I honestly think she's insane, but she's the hardest hero to put in because she's like such a good starting DPS because of how good she is with all the other, you know, starting heroes. But I'm going to put her in the A tier. Only because I think for the majority of players that are probably watching this tier list, Morgan Le Fay might be too difficult to use. Like the same argument for like an Izanagi. Like I think Izanagi and I think her and even heroes like Shamash, yes, people can use them on the surface level. But when you start to actually divinity manipulate and you start to actually manipulate stacks into your team composition's favor, heroes like Morgan, heroes like Izanagi, and like Dracula are really freaking good. Like, they are really freaking good. The difference is, I think Morgan is better than both of these two heroes, and that's why she's in the A tier, and I think this is going to be where others would put her in top picks. Like, these are any hero in A or S, if you pick, no one will complain. That's the way I would look at it, right? So I know, Morgan, it was a hard one, but we've got to move on, girl. We've got 10 remaining, and Mulan is one of these heroes that I'm going to be real, I'm not going to spend too much time on. I honestly think this hero is going to be more good later on when you summon the hero. Out of any of the other slayers we've seen so far, if you've not guessed it, she just doesn't feel like she does the same hits. She places Vanish on herself, so she protects herself, which is good, but if it's against AoE, she's going to die. Yes, she can shred the enemy's defense down to by 20%, and she can increase her own damage by each living enemy. So if you've got a full team of 5, that's a 50% increase in damage on Typhoon Force, and she can place Drain 2 and Hex 2 on the enemy. But guess what? So can Guan Yu place that Drain, and if we're playing her for the Drain, I'd rather just pick Guan Yu as a starting hero and find a better DPS that either does what this hero is trying to do, which is shred the defense and nuke, or I'll just find a hero that can literally shred defense better or just nuke straight better. Because I think if you can find a tailored, you know, job, that's better than trying to do a little bit of everything at the same time. And as you guys know, I'm not a big fan of, obviously, Vanish, so she's going to go down here. In the listing, though, I would take her over. Yeah, I'd actually take her over Hades, Hercules, or Izanami, though. So if you've got Mulan and you see any of these 3 heroes, I'd rather keep Mulan over these 3, and then anyone else on this list from obviously left to right now, I would rather pick, even in the niche heroes, I'd rather pick the niche heroes for that choice. It sounds crazy, but I really would. Now, moving on to the Godforge, next hero, final one, Pazuzu, 9 to go. Everyone knows I love Pazuzu, and this is going to be one of the only, you've heard it here first, disruptors I am giving an S tier ranking. You've heard correctly. Why am I giving Pazuzu an S tier ranking? Well, he is just really freaking good. What can I say? Compared to Mulan, anyway, he's infinitely better. Attacks one enemy, 100% chance when you book him to put accuracy down to for 2 turns, and you get a 100% chance to remove a random buff. That alone is super powerful, because you can basically be targeting certain champions, right, that needs to land debuffs, and if you can stop them from landing their debuffs, that is huge. As well as if they've got any attack ups, defense ups, you know, accuracy ups, resiliences, you name it, any sort of buffs on them, and we can just strip it with a free basic. We'll take that every single day of the week. The core now is even better. Attacks all enemies with a 100% chance to place corrupt. Well, we already know what corrupt does. Corrupt is one of my favorite debuffs in the game. Any sort of debuffs that, or any sort of buffs that are going to go onto that hero, I steal. So I'm making my Pazuzu now even better and even more DPSer on DPS. It's insane. And what I really think is one of the selling points for me, and I think a lot of players may be new to the game, and again, want to go against the grain. You don't want to listen to me. You don't want to listen to, like, Sage. You don't want to listen to Ragewood. You don't want to listen to Adam. You don't listen to anyone, right? You want to run a DPS and someone that looks freaking cool. Pazuzu is that guy, because you got to think, even for a new player, if you start, you've got this hero that you can probably take in the Tower of Chaos, because I think the Tower of Chaos allows only chaos-based heroes, which this guy is down below, and because of that, I'm assuming you will be facing order-based teams, and if you are, bro, you place fear on them all the time for 1 turn. Bro, you're going to clear the towers like it's no tomorrow. Then, on top of it, your armor attacks all enemies 3 times with a 75% chance to place vulnerable to acid and curse 2. And if you've not guessed it, that ultimate synergizes with Ramsey's Old Lady Shock. You can use any of the star heroes with this hero, and you've already got a solid team to get going. And why I think Pazuzu's even better is because his passive is good in every situation. You can use it in PvE and PvP to disrupt the flow, because if people get free buffs, guess what? We're stealing that turn and we're going in. So if you've not guessed it, like I kind of said earlier on, guys, our Pazuzu, the only S tier hero in here that's a disruptor. That's actually a disruptor. And because of that, I think I would put him... It's in this area. I think he's in the same league as these 3 heroes, basically. I reckon you can put them anywhere close and they're going to be together. I'm going to put Pazuzu only higher just because of them wings. Come on, bro. Like, look how good this hero looks, man. He looks absolutely bonkers. Like, it's insane. Okay, now we've got Perun. Perun is another good hero in the game, not gonna lie, another good disruptor. He's gonna be a pretty good pick for a lot of players too. I just don't think he's as good as we've just seen Pazuzu, right? Perun attacks one enemy and also gives you that speed down 2 for 2 turns on a 75% chance, which is very huge indeed. You got to think, especially in joint attacks and just overall gameplay, you're going to be able to get that off quite often, right? The core ability is the 3 turn cooldown when you get it booked, right? Core attacks all enemies, but you have a 100% chance to reduce the turn meter of each target by 20%, which can again force your team to go first, relying you not to speed tune as hard as you might need if you can get your Perun to pull everyone up above them, right? Sky Fury attacks massive attacks here, and this is why I like Perun. A lot of people see this and think 7 attacks, cool, I get to decrease the turn meter, cool, and the attacks obviously reducing damage against the same one. What you need to be reading is this is a 7 multiply attacker, right? So if you've got an epic weapon that either says when you deal damage to this target, you spread a debuff or you activate a debuff, in reality, you could trigger 7 instances of 10 stacks of bleed. That's kind of disgusting, if you ask me. If they've got acid on, you can trigger the acid. If they've got blaze on with that weapon combo, you can do that, right? But it is all down to understanding that Perun, yes, can deal some damage, but because he's a multi-hitter and he can actually attack all enemies too, you can build him in more like disable, debuffing styles of gameplay instead of trying to go for super massive DPS hits, right? And because of that, I actually think compared to obviously the others, I do put him in the A category, and I am actually going to put him quite high up with Heimdall. I actually think he's better than the others. Actually, Morgan as well. I think she's in the top 3 A tiers. She's definitely better than these two, 100%, right? Let's put it like that. Oh, I don't know. Let's keep it like that. It's so hard. It's so hard. But Perun and is one of those heroes, honestly, that I think for me, I had Perun myself, and I had him locked in for quite a while until I found Apollo, and Apollo has taken that seat. And I have had other heroes in this list that you can see down below, and I've just ignored them and kept Perun because of just different playstyles that you can technically adopt with this hero, which many people are going to ignore. And don't worry, if you guys have been enjoying the tier list, every single hero that you've seen on here, and technically all the legendary heroes that we can go through, I will be making individual videos on them, right? So if you want to know what the next hero does, Mr. Quetzalcoatl, I will tell you a Quetzalcoatl lineup, teams, weapons, and imprints, so you can obviously start your journey, right? Because we've still got quite a while to go, so obviously not rushing them all out right now, but they are on their way, so be prepared to see them. So Quetzalcoatl though, Mr. Cutes, Mr. Sneaky Boy, I'm just going to leave these skills up on screen. I'm going to let you read them. And now we're going to put him up. I honestly think this hero is just insane, guys, man. S tier, 100%. He's in the top 3 for me. He's just that good of a hero. Use him everywhere, and he can buff everything that you need, and he can heal too, which is really important, because what people ignore with Quetzalcoatl, and this is a really actually important thing, the fact that he attacks one enemy but heals all allies of 10% of his maximum HP means even during Shamash, joint attacks, if you've got Sun Wukong imprint for some reason on Quetzalcoatl and he hits the 25% a joint attack, he heals every single time. So you can do a lot of healing in the team. He also provides Petrify, which you've seen, which is really good. And then again, all of these buffs that you're able to get is disgusting if you think about it, right? You're getting the attack up 2, right? Look at that. Attack up 2, defense up 2. Like, oh, boys and girls, what a crazy actual invoker that you can play with in the game. So I don't have to go in depth. I think anyone who's played Alpha will agree and understand why that one's a short one. Now, this is going to be a harsh reality check for some players, but we've got Ra next. And Ra, I'm going to be real, I feel like is a summon hero. And what that means is, if we put him in the C category and we pull him across a little bit, because I do think he's better than maybe Hercules and Izanami in this pool. What I mean by that is, Ra is that glue you do need for Blaze comps. But you got to remember, in order to get that Blaze comp, you need to get it, right? Like, literally, like, you need to find YDG. You need to find that Bastet, right? You need to find these really powerful Blaze-based heroes to get it all working. Because once you get them, Ra here is that piece of glue that puts them all together and honestly is an insanely good DPS in the Blaze teams with YDG, right? But you need to get them online. And because of that reasoning, and because it's such a weird playstyle, for me, he's in the C category. I don't even want to put him in the niche heroes, because I honestly think if you put him in the B category of the niche heroes, there's not even a good starting hero with Ra to really get any value out of him. And if you're going to rely on summons, you might get unlucky. And guess what? You've just wasted your pick. So I'd rather just summon him and find the Blaze team over time than try to find it in the initial lineup of the game, right? Moving on to number 27, Raijin. This is Scattered Thunder. Attack 3 random targets. If this target is under debuff, you place a barrier on this hero. And then again with Fujin, you get that joint attack. He is another Slayer that we're going to be talking about. Attacks all enemies 2 times. 100% Hex 2. Defense down 2. And the ultimate attacks all enemy 3 times. Honestly, really powerful multi-hitter, if you've not guessed it. One of the strongest in the game. He is giving you 2 AoE attacks, but he's hitting them 3 times, 2 times, and then you attack 3 random targets. Obviously, if there's only one of them, they should hit that 1 target 3 times, just the way it will work. So you can see he's definitely a big multi-hitter. The issue I'm going to have with him is just I'm not too sold on his kit, and that is the honest truth. I honestly think some of the other types of Slayers we've seen, like Lamashtu, for example, and upcoming ones as well, are better DPS choices that you can be picking, right? So when it comes to Raijin, I'm actually going to put him in the summon category. It sounds a bit upsetting, I know, but I would rather pick Fujin and actually run a pretty good defender, and then if I summon Raijin afterwards, I'm going to be buzzing. But if I start with Raijin, I feel like I'm going to feel the suffering more. And then when I get Fujin, it will all fix itself. And I don't like that aspect of it. And that's just me personally, right? So moving on to the next hero. My boy. My boy. Oh, boy. Anyone who's watched any of my videos will know how much I like Shamash. Shamash is one of these heroes that is an invoker but doesn't play like an invoker. And what Shamash is honestly a damage extension. He's a damage extender, and he can let you cheat the game in very insane ways. Just to explain it is, for example, we've had Anubis, right? Anubis can be in the same team with Shamash, and guess what? If you do the basic or the core ability and make everyone join attack with Shamash, guess what? Yes, if they die, the Anubis proc will proc. Unless the devs have changed this since alpha, any defeation procs. So if it says if an enemy is defeated, X occurs, they all trigger, right? And because of that, Shamash can do whatever he likes. He's one of the most offensive supports in the game. And the way you want to look at this hero is not a little bitch hero. You are all in. Because even the ultimate is going to trigger for the very first time when any one of your team members die. So if someone dies, Shamash is going to instantly revive them, which makes the enemy forcibly have to kill Shamash, because if they don't, he will honestly carry this entire team, right? He's that good. And he's so good of a hero, by the way. You can run Gilgamesh, you can run Beowulf like I did, you can run Guan Yu, you can run so many different slayers with Shamash, and it will just work. It is that insane of a hero. So if you've not guessed it, this hero, boom, he's taking over Quetzalcoatl's #2 spot. Honestly, my two top heroes are these two, because they play it in different ways, but trying to achieve very similar goals of breaking the game. And Shamash is just, I can't fathom how good he is, guys. He's that good for top picks. Same with the next ones. We might as well put him in there straight away. Sun Wukong. He is the next big monster of a pick. And once we finish this list, I feel like I am going to move some of these, because again, there is a lot of top picks, but I feel like I honestly think there is a lot of top picks that I would pick compared to others in this game, right? So when we go into Sun Wukong, we all know this hero. Attacks one enemy, increases the hero's divinity. You also mirror a random buff and in joining attacks, which is just nuts. The core ability now places attack up 2 for 2 turns, attacks all enemies 2 times, which is really good. And for each buff on him, you increase your own damage. Ultimate attacks 8 times at random. So again, Sun Wukong, if you've not guessed it, fits all the roles. He can build as a pure damage dealer. You can build him as a really cool, funky hero, because you're doing multi-hits too, so that's going to allow you to do a lot of, obviously, coolness in there. And then his leader bonus also is a 24% speed bonus in all battles, right? It is just ridiculous now, right? So when we look at it, he has to go up there, right? So I'm going to look at my list here. And yeah, no, I wouldn't change any of them. I would recommend any of these as my top picks. Maybe, if you want, we'll do this. I'm going to put Isis in A tier. Why? Because I think everyone is going to recommend her. Right? She's the queen and king of A tier. Let's just say that. Right? We'll end it on there. Because there's 2 other heroes you can see coming. And they're both really, 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 really good, right? We've got Artemis, and you'll hear my opinion on Artemis at the end. But these next 2 heroes, I will talk together, because it's Svarog and it's Viviane. So Svarog is in a very similar position to what I like to call the Athena syndrome. You heard right. He's just one of these tanks that you can put into your team, and he's gonna be a really, really good tank. He attacks one enemy, 220%, 105% attack, with 75% chance to 100 to place blunt 2, which reduces the critical damage you take for 2 turns. Your core is attack all enemies, so 100% chance to put an attack down 2, which is super important, and protect 2 on all allies. And then your ultimate puts resistance 2, defense up 2 for 3 turns, and then a 250% shield on them, right? Each time an ally uses an ultimate, you decrease the damage received by allies by 3%, and this maxes out at 30%. So if you've not guessed it, this hero is all about, if you can really get your ultimates rolling, you can get that passive online, and guess what? You're not taking as much damage. And his ultimate as well, right? Kind of getting that rolling. He's a very safe tank, right? But even though I was super impressed with him, the more I've been actually, like, you know, looking at all of the defenders and stuff, I'll be honest, Athena is the only defender that I would safely pick and never look back on, because I think Svarog is A tier, and I think he is I think this is so close. I think it's in between these two who you pick. And that is because I think other content creators will put Svarog in the S tier. And I honestly think Athena is just too good of a defender. I honestly think she is. And I think for how simple she is as well, it makes a much more sense. Because Viviane is the next hero, and she's in my top 3. She's in my top 3. She does what Izanagi does on a basic. She reduces, obviously, divinity costs. She also extends buffs, as you guys know, through her core now. The ultimate removes disables as well, and increases the turn meter. And if there's Avalon members in, they also join the attack. And I think remove the debuffs. That's it. Removes all debuffs. So really nuts. The passive also increases your basic ability, and then when you join attacks, this is doubled, so it's a 40% increase in basic damage. Yeah. Do we need to honestly go any further? The more you just stare at that kit, the more it should be screaming at you why this hero is broken and why she's in my top 3 and why she shares the same spots like Shamash and Apollo. And the thing is, this is what's really hard. My top 3 heroes all kind of break the game in a different way, and these two are very close. The issue you'll start to see is Shamash is your non-traditional support, so he's basically the offensive support, right? He's trying to be as offensive as possible. Apollo's your speedster, while your Viviane is your extender. And that's the way I look at these three, and especially my top 3 on the, obviously, Godforge Legendary Quests, right? So we only have 2 heroes remaining, and obviously we have the image for one of them, which is Wang, but Artemis, for some reason, we don't have the wild card for. But I will give you my opinion on her, because she is a DPS hero, which does look pretty promising from the core and the ultimate, but I don't think she's as good as any of the DPS that we've seen today. The Mr. Wang, though, absolute monster of a debuffer. Let's be real. If you love our friend Shinigami, Mr. Wang is Shinigami's CEO, right? And the thing is with this, I might be wrong when I'm going to place my man Mr. Wang, but I think he's supposed to be a PvP hero. I mean that. I actually think he's a PvP hero. I reckon in content, he might surprise us, and he actually might be a really powerful hero, and obviously it's going to skew, obviously, people picking him for the first Godforge quest. That's why it's so hard. Why? You've got to think about what he's doing. He locks passives, and he locks core abilities. So you got to think now, if we go back to the tier list here, right? I can't revive, I can't join attacks, I can't boost the damage, right? I can't boost damage again. Damage reductions over here on Athena. So you got to think, like, you are really turning off a lot. And that is with the lock passive and the lock core move. And I think in PvP, that is going to be disgusting to go against a Mr. Wang combo, honestly, in some regard. But I don't know how powerful that will be in content. And that is my only issue, because I'll be real, obviously in content, Quetzalcoatl, if you kill him, he might revive 2 allies, and if you could turn that off, yes, it would save you a bit of headache. But that's all it is. It's a little bit of a headache. A lot of the players like myself, whenever something revives off that Quetzalcoatl, you already have prepared for it. And normally you've got the damage ready to re-kill those 2 guys anyway. So it's not going to make too much of an impact. So it is one of them really interesting ones. I think in PvP, it's going to be more beneficial. And this is where Artemis comes in, because she is a DPS dealer. It was on one of the old videos on the Fateless channel. You can check it out when I reacted to to all of the video people that he pops up with just the core and ultimates. And the thing is, I'm going to put her in the summon only pile too. The thing is with armors, she feels the same like Raijin, where if you pick her, you might feel like really cool at first, but you'll start feeling like you're falling flat because maybe you just don't have the team that works around her properly. Same with, like, you know, here with Izanagi. They're both in that same similar boat, right? So if I'm going to rank these, yeah, I'm going to rank them like this, I think. Let me put you up there, put you down there. Yeah, there we go. And that's where we would put them. So that's my tier list. And you got to remember, this tier list is for the Godforge Quests. So whatever hero you want to summon and pick to start off with, this should help you out, right? So these are my top picks, meaning if you wanted to go for invokers, any invoker, which is Apollo, Shamash, Viviane, Quetzalcoatl, Freya, guess what? You're in good hands. If you want to pick a DPS, you've got Wukong and Lamashtu, and technically Grendel, but, you know, we'll go to that in a second. But if you want DPS, Wukong, Lamashtu, and Cizin, they're your three options that I would pick as my top picks. If you're going for now a brawler, it's either Grendel or it's going to be your Anubis. And then if you want to go super spicy and have a disruptor, it's going to be Pazuzu, with the only defender that I actually would pick in it sounds crazy, is Athena, because she's just so good, so versatile, so beginner friendly too, and she's going to be usable everywhere in the game, right? A tier, these are other heroes that I will 100% guarantee you guys, if you asked other content creators, they would have them in S tier, and they might have certain heroes here in A tier. So it's just down to preference at the end of the day. But if you picked any of these A tier heroes or any of these S tier heroes, I will tell you, your Godforge early access beginning journey is going to be fine. You will be fine. You will be able to clear the content. You'll be able to collect those heroes, participate in the clan bosses, you name it. You'll be able to do it. Don't worry and stress. The game's just started. There's no reason that you need to try and solve it instantly, right? So with that, this is all of my list. Go down to the B tier, which is the niche heroes, and this is only if you want to pick, again, the biggest hard-hitting DPS in the game, which is Hell. She's just hit super hard. Or if you really like Dracula and do you want to start with Lady Shock, this is a really cool little niche start that you could go down. The C heroes, these are heroes that I would rather just try to summon personally, and if I can summon them, it's going to be much better overall. And then these three heroes, I think, are going to be PvP all-stars, basically. PvP all-stars, especially Wang. I think Wang is going to be absolutely crazy for PvP. So that is it. My link here should be saved, and it will be public for you guys to check out, as you guys will know, on the Raven Pirates Gaming website. And just to remind you, if you check out his website up at the top there, you'll be able to go and find out all of stuff like Godforge's affinities, you know, stars effects, imprints, weapons, armor sets, you name it. It's all here for you guys. So if you're completely new, don't worry, take it at your own pace, and hopefully today in this tier list video, I've helped you with the buffs when we've needed to bring them up at the beginning before they started reoccurring, right? So let me know what you think. Do you agree with my picks? What are your picks? And until the next video, guys, smash a like, comment, and subscribe. Until then, stay safe, stay sneaky. Peace out.